you landed in Los Angeles with very little money, and besides Nick, knew no one. Talk about sort of the hunger and maybe the desperation of sort of the immigrant mentality.
Well, it may be the immigrant, but many immigrants come in and just have jobs and become part of the workforce, a valuable part of the workforce. And some of us go on to having large companies and employing lots of people, which I've fortunately gone on to be. And it comes down to whether you're an immigrant or not an immigrant, comes down to your drivers inside you. So remember, your education at USC is very expensive. You're all super smart because you wouldn't be here otherwise. It's still going to come down to the drivers inside you, not the fact that you learned something in school. And the drivers inside you will come down to one of two things. Everyone either runs towards pleasure or away from pain. Only two things going on there. Something you like, you'll work hard towards, you like it, or you're frightened of something and you'll run away from it. And my motivation was the pain. So I knew that I was more focused on avoiding pain than getting pleasure. And then what is that pain? My pain was the fear of being insignificant and looking back, having done nothing. Not the fear of failing at all. That comes with the territory. The failure to me was being like, I'm 52 now. I came here at 22. I've been here 30 years in LA. And my fear was looking back in my 50s, which I'm actually, funnily enough, there, like, what a crappy situation that I knew I was better than this. And I was paralyzed by analysis or whatever, and I found excuses to not do things. Everyone can rationalize why they didn't take action. It's very easy. You have to know something, guys. You're never going to be 100% sure. Never, ever, ever. You'll never be sure when you get married, you marry the right person. You're never sure USC was the right school. You're never sure you're in the right major, or that business you thought about was right, or that job was right. You're never sure. If you wait around for 100% certainty, you will do nothing. You'll become one of those people who rationalize in their messed up brains, it's okay they didn't do something, because we're all defending and explaining why we couldn't do it to our parents or to our friends, and when you look in the mirror, that's not true. It's your fault. You were frightened. And so you have to operate on knowing about 50% maybe, if you're lucky, that you feel it's certain, and the rest of it is you make it up as you go along. And that means that's very scary, because you're going into a situation like with Survivor. When they said yes, got news for you. I walked out of there getting a yes from CBS. I didn't have an island. I didn't know whether the money that I'd agreed to was even anywhere near enough to produce Survivor. Imagine that. So I walked out on one level, well, a company had already said no to me once. I've now just said yes. And so on one level, it's like, whoa, that's incredible. They just said no 2 months ago, and now CBS have said more or less yes. And I sat in my car, I was like, shit. What am I going to do? Where will I do it? How will I do it? I talked a good game. Can I actually do it? Had I been a person that was less naive and more responsible, I wouldn't have pitched it in the first place, because I didn't even know I could do it. But you know what? I fully jumped in, guys. I fully jumped in without knowing if I could swim or not, and I just swam anyway. Because you know what? I didn't want to drown. And I did figure it. And everyone knows now. Some people in this room don't remember before they were watching Survivor with their families. And we all love it. I love it. I love it as much now as the first day. I mean, today, talking to Jeff today about what we're working on, prepping for the season about to come out, and this summer of shooting again. It's great. My kids have grown up. My kids can't remember what it was like before they lived in tents on location. It's great, but I didn't know. You have to know that. I didn't have it figured out. I didn't have the education. I had the instinct, and I was more frightened of not doing shit than doing nothing. much more frightened.